Hi, I'm Opinions Editor and writer for the tab Adam Payne, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Guild President Sam Butler. We're going to be talking a bit about the election and some of the negativities around the election, but before this happens, Sam has got some very important news.
Yes, as I'm sure you're aware, there's been some problems with the tech and IT and requiring people to register to vote in this year's elections. But we've been working round the clock and we've got a pretty quick solution to making it as easy as possible for you to vote. So forgive me for reading off the screen, but I want to get this perfect. You go to elgos.org, select Vote Now, you sign in with your student ID, so click that little button and you just use your normal username and password as you would on any library computer. That will then ask you to enter a new password. Now that can be the same as your usual password, or you can make one up. And that will then take you back to the Elgos website. Click Vote Now again, click Sign in with Student ID again, and that will take you straight through to the voting page for you to be able to cast your vote. So hopefully that should make it as easy as possible for you to vote.
Thanks, Sam. To the interview, as I said, there's been a lot of negativity surrounding the election for one reason or another. And the first of these issues I'll start with is the campaigns themselves, campaign style. It appears that some students are becoming kind of exhausted and a bit tired of candidates visiting lectures, kind of stalking the Sydney Jones, approaching people, to the point where I know people who actively avoid bumping into candidates. And I mean, do you think the issue is that candidates need to use new ways of communication, or do you think that students need to open themselves up to the process and the fun of it?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that elections in general are always perceived in a negative way, I think, by kind of the mass. We've always had problems with kind of the way that elections kind of engage with students and things like that, and every year people feel exhausted with the process. One thing I would say is, you're right actually, I think this is a two-way system. Kind of, it's a week in the year. We listened to the student feedback from last year that said the election period was too long, and we shortened it to try and get that buzz on campus, because actually when things go right with elections, it's a fantastic time to be on campus. People are engaged with it. The reason that people, I think, feel that they're perhaps being harassed or things like that is that I would say people perhaps feel like it's not relevant to them, and I think that's just not true. I mean, I would say that this is 1 week of the year that will have an impact on the entire next academic session. These are the people that will be running your student union. That's a really important job, and it will massively impact on your housing and your transport and your teaching and learning and your feedback and your exams and things like that. So it really does have a massive impact. I'd like to think that people would just get more in the spirit of it and sort of use their democratic right. They're a student here and they have a vote in the elections, so I would hope that people would engage more. The candidates are not kind of evil people who are trying to trick them into voting for them. They're there because they think that they've got some good ideas to make this a better place, and I would encourage people to engage with that.
You and I were both left quite disappointed by the cancellation of the election debate. I mean, for me, we talk about relevance and engagement. I don't think there'll be anything more relevant and engaging than the debate. I mean, maybe I'm lacking from personal experience, but a candidate given the opportunity to put across a strong, informative, kind of charismatic debate performance, surely that would be a lot more memorable and appealing to potential voters than, spending your afternoon at the Sydney Jones or talking before people's 9 o'clock lectures. Do you think, I mean, obviously what happened, we can't point a finger of blame, but are you disappointed? I mean, surely this has been a really good opportunity for candidates, and they should be prioritising these sorts of opportunities.
I think it's always disappointing when kind of things that have been planned, to raise awareness of the election don't go ahead. But I think we have quite a short memory in student elections, and some of the things that people do now, iPads, for example, were only ever used for the first time a couple of years ago in student elections, and lecture shout-outs are quite a relatively new way of campaigning, and I think that people are always wary of trying new things when they're campaigning, in case it's a waste of time and they feel like they could be better spent, like as you said, outside the Sydney Jones or what have you. And I think that things are developing very quickly, and people will very quickly realise what are the most successful ways of getting votes. We know from experience and from statistics that the best way to win a vote is to talk to someone in person. That's not always possible. There's 20,000 students, and I think that people are open to new ideas, but to be frank, it's a very exhausting and kind of emotionally draining experience running an election, and I would hope that candidates do feel motivated to go out there and try new things, but sometimes it takes one person to take the plunge and go, okay, I'm going to do a flash mob and embarrass myself in a kind of costume or whatever that gets people's attention, and then suddenly everyone will be doing that. And I think that we do need to make sure that people are being limited.
Obviously the system has been fixed, which is fantastic news, but we can't ignore the fact that the failed system up until today was a big talking point. I mean, I experienced problems myself, and it's not the first time the university has associated itself with less than impressive IT, shall we say. I mean, election week is a very important time. Do you think these errors can be excused? I mean, with the impact it's had on the loss of votes, or was it just an honest mistake that we need to just forget about?
I don't think we can excuse it as such, because I think it has impacted on the vote number, as you say. And, the vote number for us is essentially a standard of our legitimacy when we're kind of campaigning and doing that. And we want as many votes as possible. We want the candidates to go out and reach as many people as possible. We will be doing an audit of the elections to find out what's gone wrong. We will be challenging the university to address the issues and sort of say, look, as you say, this is our biggest point in the year. This is our most important week. This is kind of the beacon of what we're about, getting students to really take part in the democracy of their union, and something has gone wrong. So we're not shying away from the fact that something has gone wrong, and we will be addressing it both internally and with the university. But, I suppose my message at the moment is, it's happened, it's not been very good, but let's not let it distract everyone from the elections. At the end of the day, the responsibility for the students now is to elect their leaders for the next year, and that has to really be the priority for this week. And then when it's 9 o'clock on Monday morning, we'll be dealing with the problems that have gone on in the past.
That question kind of leads on to voter apathy in itself, which is obviously a big question in terms of national politics. But I mean, at Liverpool, I was told this morning that around 500 people have voted, less than 100 are undergraduates. And it's a very realistic possibility that the turnout could be less than 10%. Obviously the system has been fixed, which should give it a surge. But we're looking at a very, very low turnout. I mean, is this unique to Liverpool, or is this beyond your control? It's more about national mood, national patterns in politics.
Well, within student unions, it's not unique to Liverpool. Everyone has problems with voter turnout. We're actually in the top 5 of voter turnout in the country, which sounds fantastic, but you're right, there's a lot of students out there that aren't voting. There's obviously a major issue, I think, with national politics. The number of people voting in general elections and local elections is going down. Police commissioner elections are something like average of 15% turnout. So it's really, really sort of disillusioning for anyone of us who's involved in any sort of politics. But I think, like anything, you've got to ask the question, well, why don't people vote? Well, people don't vote because they don't feel like it's relevant. If they don't feel it's relevant, why not? And I think that we do have a big job as a student union to tell students why we're relevant, i.e. what we're doing, what difference we're making. But I do think it's, again, a two-way thing. We've got to give students the sort of freedom to communicate with us in the ways that they see fit. And, we have a weekly email that goes out that I know people won't read, but it's there with all the information that we're doing, the things we're working on, the offers that we have, the kind of cheap beer, etc. We have a kind of strong following on social media, Facebook and Twitter, but do people engage with it? And as I said, it's a two-way thing. We've just appointed a marketing manager now. We're developing a marketing team to look at these issues of communications. But I would hope that students who are kind of, responsible adults kind of in high education establishment would take some responsibility themselves and say, do you know what, actually, I am going to find out what's going on because it is relevant to me and I'm not happy with certain aspects of my course or my house or my halls or my transport or the guild itself.
Last question, kind of moving away from the negativity. I suppose it is quite negative. Your time as president is coming to an end. How do you feel? Sad, relieved, exhausted, or kind of a mixture of many emotions?
A mix of both, really. I mean, I've got less hair than I started with, but we'll just have to deal with that. It's been amazing. I've been lucky to be in here when it's a real period of change, so able to really influence the guild internally, what's going on. Obviously, the refurbishment has been problematic in many ways, but we're about to kind of start on this amazing new journey, and to be here at the start of that is really fantastic.
Well, I think I can speak on behalf of students and everyone involved in saying thanks and Jim, much appreciated. Lots of people struggling with essays, assignments, and the general strains of university life. Have you got any words of wisdom, inspiration?
Well, I'll I'll turn to the camera. Just keep going. University is an amazing time. As someone who's now graduated, I wish I could start and do it all again and enjoy it all over. But please make the most of the time whilst you're still here. The Guild is here for you. It's here to develop you as an individual and to support you as well. So please take advantage of the opportunities here and vote in your student union elections. It does have a massive impact. So thank you.
Yeah. Vote. Thanks, Anne Butler.
Thanks.